As you know from the history, the Vikings were courageous, formidable and strong. But how they were doing with love and sex? Are they as successful in this regard as they were successful in wars? Now we will find out. Contrary to popular belief, Viking men were not always the brutals from legends. When it came to love, in Viking, a softer, albeit a little strange romantic side was revealed. In addition, compared to the rest of Europe at this point in history, they pay great attention to the freedoms and equality of women in their society. One of the most remarkable facts is that women could choose from different partners until they found one that would completely suit them, including sexually. Viking men and women were proud of their appearance, the way they smell and the level of their sexuality in the opposite sex. Men could wash at least once a week, then it was considered as quite often. Both men and women dyed their hair, dressed cleanly, preferred bright clothes, and wore jewelry and raincoats to demonstrate their level of wealth, style, and attract attention to themselves. Premarital sex was considered the norm, but marriage and procreation were always the primary goal in their society. Those who remained single for a long time were shunned and blamed. Viking women could demand a divorce if sex with their husband was not so great. If a man was bad in bed, it was socially acceptable for his wife to file for divorce. She also had grounds for divorce if her husband wore women's clothing or gave sexual preference to men. In such a case, she would also receive back her dowry and any property she received throughout the marriage. Adultery was common. Extramarital affairs were commonplace in the Viking Age. Despite their prevalence, affairs on the side, as a rule, were frowned upon and eventually began to be considered a crime, equally for both men and women. If a woman was caught with a lover, her husband had the right to kill her and her lover. Her husband's infidelity was usually paid with a fine. At the same time, her husband's infidelity was not grounds for divorce. The Vikings were masters of sexual euphemisms. Apparently, the big and formidable Vikings were quite awkward when it came to talking about sex, so they preferred euphemisms instead of a direct approach. A man could hit on a woman, and what happened next could be interpreted as you like. Sometimes they would get together in bed or enjoy each other, and then the man would relax with her or take matters into his own hands and entertain himself. The most famous and recorded euphemism they used for sex sounded like roll to the maga, which translates to swim on her stomach. Those who did not marry were shunned. Scandinavian men who never married because of their sexuality were accused of running away from the vagina and shunned in society. Women who pulled the same trick, for whatever reason, ran away from the penis. While you were married and had children, your extramarital activities were usually ignored. The Vikings had conflicting views on homosexuality. On the one hand, there was nothing wrong with diversifying your sex life until you started running from the vagina and eventually got married and had children in order to contribute to society. On the other hand, it was considered shameful for a man to be a passive. Lesbianism is practically not mentioned. Apparently it was a rarity, and was noticed by society even less often. The men who took a passive role with homosexual contact went against the ideals of the Vikings. One man could have another in order to demonstrate his superiority and dominance. Also, Viking men could rape other men to humiliate them, but it was unacceptable to want to be humiliated. The Vikings didn't play games. The Vikings had peculiar courtship rituals. If a woman wanted a man to know that she was romantically interested in him, she could sew him a shirt, and this should serve as a clear hint for him. The northern men were also quite gallant with the ladies. They collected a large and beautiful bouquet of purple flowers for the object of their desire, and slapped her in the face with them. Once they started dating, in addition to kissing and caressing, they took care of each other and could share one drinking horn. Vikings married early. In the Viking Age, girls got married at the age of 12. Most likely, this is due to the fact that the average lifespan of the Vikings in those days was so short. On average it was only 40 years. The marriage ritual included a contract, an engagement ceremony, and a multi-day wedding feast. The guests escorted the young couple to the wedding bed with torches in their hands, which emphasized the difference between a legitimate marriage and a secret relationship. The legal marriage involved the exchange of gifts, property, and money. Children in a legal marriage had the right to the father's name and property, which distinguished them from the children of slaves. The Viking, in addition to his official wife, often had slaves, but neither they nor their children had any rights. Marriages with a large age difference were common among the Vikings. Scandinavian girls could get married at the age of 12, and men got married after 25, when they already earned authority and wealth in campaigns. At the same time, even young girls preferred to marry an experienced and adult chosen one than a young handsome man who had not yet achieved anything. Please don't forget to support my channel with a subscription and like my video.